She has shown her age in films like Wolf of Wall Street and Suicide Squad. Still, I doubt even her biggest fans could have been prepared for her transformative work in this movie. Please welcome Margot Robbie. I always like when I have people as accomplished as you guys are to start by asking, where did you begin? What was your first job in the business? The first script you got paid for, or your first acting role?
I was an actor. I went to the Neighborhood Playhouse in New York, and I did a lot of theater because movies didn't really want me. And so I really wrote the first script because I wanted to be in movies and they didn't want me. And I thought, oh, I'll just write my own. Because I was 20-nothing and I didn't know everybody did it. I thought it was my genius idea. And the first thing I wrote was Kate and April.
Wait, you're kidding? Because I just told him this is my dad's favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, that was the first thing I wrote.
That was the first movie you wrote, and you get Hugh Jackman and Meg Ryan to star in it?
Yeah, but I was so young, I didn't know that was incredible. I just thought, well, yeah, that's why I wrote it. I didn't know that was extraordinary.
Did you get to be in it?
By the time they made it, I didn't want to be. I didn't want to act anymore because I had friends who became famous, and I just thought, too much attention, not for me.
I went to school for graphic design and advertising, so I went into advertising. I was young, I was like 20, and I was doing a lot of commercials, luckily. And I kept seeing the guys on the other side of the camera, and I think I want to be on that side of the camera. So I just started shooting stuff on the weekends, and we built a reel with renting equipment. I'd go over to NYU and get cameras and shoot and edit and be told it was no good and do it again.
And what was the first time that you remember getting paid for it? Like somebody actually hired you to do a job?
It was actually an Arby's commercial. And we got to, it was President Clinton running around with Secret Service, and he kept doing a detour to run to Arby's.
I remember this! It wasn't obviously not the real President Clinton, but a lookalike.
He was known for enjoying his fast food back then.
Margot?
I did a little super low budget indie film on the Gold Coast, where I'm from in Australia. It was unpaid work and it never got released or distributed or anything like that, but it was a set no matter how small, so I loved it.
Even to this day, it hasn't been released? I mean, yeah, even though Margot wrote it.
I've never seen it.
You're going to see a clip right now.
So I'm curious because I'm from Oregon. I was a kid when, I would see Tonya Harding at the mall. But it's, oh yeah, I would see her skate at the mall, yeah. I mean, I was like 4, but the story was huge to us, but I'm just curious why all these years later, Steve, what drew you to the story to write the script?
Yeah, you can answer it. I had just written a Christmas movie, and I knew that I wanted to do something that was very different. And I happened to see this great documentary on 30 for 30 that Annette Burstein did on Tonya Harding. And I thought, well, nothing doesn't say Christmas like Tonya Harding. So I went on the Tonya Harding website to see if the life rights were available, and I called the number for her agent, and it was a Motel 6. No, and I just thought, I'm so in.
Was it actually her agent working at the
No. It was a Motel 6. But I tracked down the real Tonya Harding, and I tracked down Jeff Gillooly, and I just wormed my way in, and I got them to agree to let me interview them, even though I'd never interviewed anybody before, but I didn't tell them that. And when I did interview them, their stories were just so different. They really didn't remember anything the same. And I just thought, well, that's my way in. I'll just put everybody's point of view up there and let the audience decide what's what.
Did you always know it would have a comedic tone in places, or did that come
Well, to me, it was a very funny story, but it was also a very tragic story, and it was also a very crazy story, and a very true-ish story, depending on whose point of view you believe. So I wanted the screenplay to be all of that, because I didn't see why you can't be more than one thing.
And Craig, how did it find its way to you, and what attracted you to this project?
Thank you, Steve. I was driving home from, I do a lot of commercials, and I was driving home from a set, and I would call from my agent, and he's like, hey, I'm going to be sending over this script about Tonya Harding. And just in the breath that he took, I went through all these reasons why I wasn't interested. Being I just had done a sports biopic, I'd done another biopic, I didn't want to do a third one, it seemed so long ago. And then he finished the sentence starring Margot Robbie. And I was like, wow, that's a really bizarre and interesting combination, and I love Margot's work. And the dance that she can do between the drama and the humor, but still without ever losing the character and pain that's underneath. And I thought, if the script is anywhere in that area, you know, I'd love to do it. And then I read Stephen's script, and it was the wildest, craziest. I'd never read anything like it. The contradictory, as you guys just saw, it was very hard to find any kind of reference, but I absolutely loved it. And thought Margot would be able to kill it, so I had to go in and argue my way into it.
So Margaret, you were already attached not only as an actor but a producer.
Yes.
And I think much has been made that when you got this script, you didn't know it was a true story?
No, I read it and I thought, oh wow, this is so bizarre, and I love this, the mockumentary style, as if, you know, it's just remembering something. And then I found out it was true, and I was like, wait, what?
Who told you? Like, how did that conversation
Well,
work?
I can't remember at what point, but I think I got to the end of the script and I was like, I think I went to go look up something, and then I was like, oh, this Tonya Harding's a real person. Wait, what? I thought that was all just like a mockumentary style structure to this totally made up, totally like outrageous, sensationalized story. And then if anything, I think Stephen showed great sophistication and subtlety in places. I mean, I was like, there's nothing over the top. He was really just reporting the truth. Like when you see the footage of Alison Janney's character Lavana, the real life Lavana, she's got the fur coat and the bird like you see in the end credits there, and you're just like, wow.
So when you realize it's true, I mean, on one hand, does that excite you, but then also intimidate you because you're portraying a real person who's still alive?
Totally. It's always an added responsibility playing a real life person, especially one that's alive and is probably going to see the film. It's really hard to get that out of your head. So there's definitely an added responsibility, but also in the case of Tonya, there was an amazing amount of footage that I could research. I could really study her, you know, from afar, and I did for 6 months before I even met her in person. It's like I could do all of that work without needing to meet her. So yeah, it was good and bad.
Stephen, I'm curious because you were able to meet Tonya and you talked to Jeff as well. Was there anybody else you wanted to meet, or did you just want to tell from their stories? I mean, Lavanya.
No, I would have met everybody. Diane really wasn't interested in talking to me. I think she just wanted to move on. Tonya told me that she didn't know whether Lavana was dead or alive, and I don't think she cared. And she also told me that she didn't know what name she was living under. So I couldn't find her. So really I just wrote that part for Alison Janney, because I've known Alison since we were both at the Neighborhood Playhouse together. So I've always known how really great she was, but she's never been able to be in any of my movies. She never got the parts that I wrote for her. On this one, it was a spec script, and there was some heat on it when it went out, so I got to have some caveats, and I said, Alison Janney is playing the part that I wrote for her, and I want it in writing, or it's a deal breaker. But, right? But I actually said it before Alison had even read the script. We said she would do the movie. I knew it. I thought I'd just gamble, and it obviously paid off. Yeah.
I mean, Craig, I can't imagine, or I shouldn't say that, but did you have any objection to the casting of Alison Janney in this movie?
Not at all. It just actually made it harder for me to get the job. I felt both having Margot and Alison already attached. It was such a, and with the script, it was such a hot property that, really, had to plead my case. In fact, I met with Brian Unclis over there, who's one of our producers on the movie, and we had a long conversation. And then he's like, "All right, now you go meet Stephen." And Stephen and I met and talked for hours. And then I was like, "All right, now go meet Margot." And we had a long conversation. And then several weeks later, they called me.
I want to talk about the rest of this cast and what it's like to work with them. Sebastian Stan, who plays Jeff Gillooly, is really such a revelation in this movie. I've never seen him do anything like this on screen. But people wouldn't think, the guy who is in the Captain America movies would be Jeff Gillooly. I mean, how did you see him in the role?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we said when setting out to find our Jeff was like, no super handsome movie star looking action hero guy, you know, like that's the last person that should play Jeff. And then we see this tape, and it's Sebastian's tape, and we're like, who is this incredible actor? Oh my God, I've never seen them before. And then I went on IMDb and I was like, wait, I've seen him in Gossip Girl and in Marvel movies? It's that guy? He disappeared into the role so completely. I mean, we must have all called each other at the same time, being like, have you watched this guy's tape? It's amazing. But there was a lot of amazing tapes, to be honest. A lot of really wonderful actors tried out for Jeff, and I read with quite a few of them. We did chemistry reads, and it was like magic when Sebastian was in the room. It was like no one else's read, no one else's take on Jeff. He found a way to humanize someone that, you know, in someone else's hands would have just been a straight up villain or monster, but nothing about his anger or violence felt premeditated. It felt very reactionary, kind of like a kid breaking his toys and then feeling bad immediately afterwards for breaking them. You know, it was just so different, and you could actually develop empathy in some ways for that person, which was nearly impossible with the role he had to play. So we were so lucky to find him.
And what was your shooting schedule? Because I think it was fast.
There was originally 256 scenes, and it ended up being more, and maybe like 280, and we had 31 days.
Script's usually like 160 scenes, by the way.
And so we had 31 days, so we ended up doing 8 or 9 scenes a day. It was crazy, and honestly, Margot like heading that, because we were moving so fast, and you know, she'd be doing 9 scenes and different ages and different wigs and 3 takes and moving on, and just if I didn't have her that could deliver every time, we wouldn't be sitting here.
And what is it like, you know, working so closely with actors like Allison and Sebastian when your characters are not always being kind to each other? I mean, was it sometimes hard at the end of the day? Would you have to check in with each other? I mean, you know, she throws a knife at you, for God's sake. And I know it's acting. Yeah.
No, I'm really not. It depends on the working relationship you have. It's always different with every actor you work with, because everyone has their own process. But I feel like Alison, Sebastian, and I had very similar ways of working, and we definitely didn't keep our distance. Like, we would, in between takes, be joking around, blah, 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 and action would be screaming at each other. So it was always fun, and I always felt like I could push it really, really far with them. And you know, I always said to them, don't hold back with me. Like, I'm not made of glass. Throw things, I don't care. Like, actually throw it, I don't care. And they would, you know. It was just, it's such a fun way to work. And it really comes down to the people you're working with. And I mean, I can't say it enough. They are just the greatest people, both as people and as actors. So I was very lucky.
But did you ever get hurt? I mean, you know, in a scene or on the ice rink even?
Yeah. I mean, there's always like bumps and bruises and stuff on a set. No matter, I don't think I've ever done a movie, or haven't in a long time, where I haven't been like, you know, you get bruises the whole way through, because I get carried away when I'm acting and I forget what I'm doing, and then I go home that night and I'm like, oh, whoa. I didn't feel that at the time. But no, the skating I did, I herniated a disc in my neck, but other than that,
Wait, no, you're going to have to tell us a little bit more about that. Did that happen on set?
It happened during the triple axel, funnily enough. Oh, yes. I was hooked up to like a stunt rig to do this spin thing, and I'd been skating on it when my arm had kind of been numb for about a month, and I just kept skating. I didn't think it was connected, so just a little bit numb, not bad, nothing drastic, but yeah. It makes it sound really bad. It was fine. I just duck off and get an MRI at the end of each week to make sure we weren't doing damage.
As you do.
Yeah.
And finally, what was it like meeting the real Tonya Hardy? Because you mentioned you had 6 months to prepare, so did that actual meeting change your impression of her, or change the performance at all?
No, I like I said, because there was so much footage of her, I really could make every decision I wanted to make about the character before meeting her, and that's why I held off meeting her so long, so that I could keep the character and real life Tonya separate. In my mind, they're very separate. When I talk about Tonya, I am talking about the character, and then sometimes I do talk about real life Tonya, but I know the character inside and out, and I could do that because I could watch interviews and footage when she was 15, when she was in her 20s, when she was in her 40s. So by the time I met her, I'd already decided exactly how I was going to play the character, every single beat of the film. And when both Craig and I met her actually at the same time, it didn't feel like research. It was just, meeting her as a person.
And she came to the premiere the other night.
She did.
Yeah, it looked like she had a great time.
Yeah.
Was that her first time seeing the movie, or?
Second. We showed it to her a week before we played at Toronto Film Festival, just because it was going to be the first time we were showing it to a large group of people. So out of courtesy, we wanted her to be, one of the first to see it. We had no idea how she was going to react, but she said we were pretty spot on with everything. Yeah, so that was nice.
And Stephen, I believe you mentioned Jeff hasn't seen the movie?
He hasn't seen it yet, but I just actually emailed him today.
Really?
Because I want to show it to him. But I did say earlier in the week that I was really nervous about him seeing the movie because I genuinely like him, and I'm nervous because I want him to like the movie and think that that we all did a good job. And he emailed me back and he said, "Well, don't be nervous. I really liked Hope Floats," and I'm sure it's pretty similar.
Wow. It'd make a great companion piece to it, absolutely. So you're filming a period piece on, I know, a limited budget and a limited shooting schedule, and you have these crazy athletic scenes and fights. Was it more difficult than you imagined, or were you prepared for what you were taking on?
I mean, we knew it was a huge undertaking. It was the second time I'd produced, so I still have like a huge amount of blind optimism. You can prepare for everything, and we tried to prepare for everything, but it's just the nature of films. On the day things change, the location falls out, or whatever it is. So there was constantly things, but problems to be solved. But for the most part, we had a great group of people. Like it was just an amazing, and I don't mean just the people here and Brian and Tom, but it's every crew member was someone who was just willing to like roll their sleeves up, get their hands dirty, and like make it work. People were resourceful and thrifty and fast and dedicated and loyal and all those amazing things that you really hope for in a crew. But to really get it makes or breaks a job, and we're just so lucky. We're so lucky that we have the group of people we did.
Craig, for you, from a logistical standpoint, was it difficult to pull off?
Again, so we prepped this very meticulously, and the crew was amazing. So it starts with the top, obviously, with the actors that have to be able to deliver that. My DP and I prepped this for many weeks. Kim Withers, who was our AT, has done huge films like Braveheart and Edge of Tomorrow, and he was so game to do this and just loved the scrappiness of it and getting as much as we could, and like constantly every day. I'm sure like for the art department and for the wardrobe department had 108 wardrobe outfits for Tonya, that it was just absolute chaos, but everybody was up for it and just scrambling. And it's like we'd get ahead like one day and I'd go over to Margot and be like, "We're an hour ahead, can we shoot this scene in the car park with the judge?" And she'd be like, "Okay." And we'd call the guy and he'd be on his sofa at home, be like, "We need you to come in and shoot a scene in an hour and a half." And it was kind of crazy that way, but everybody was up for it.
Was there anything you weren't able to include in the script, either because even though it was true, it was just too outrageous to believe, or something you guys maybe couldn't afford to do?
Yes.
Well, there are things that we shot, but then we ultimately couldn't use for either legal reasons or we just couldn't fit it in, just because it would run too long. My favorite thing is when Tonya had said to me when I interviewed her and we filmed it, and that she said, "No, I can't prove this, but I have it on very good authority that Nancy and Jeff were in on it together to take me down, because how bad was she hurt, really?" And that I loved. We did film that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
At the same time, this film, I don't want to say redeems her, but it presents her in a sympathetic light. I mean, and I think if nothing else, like, people will realize what a great athlete she was, because I didn't realize, I think, until I saw this movie, literally how impossible some of the things she did was. Like, I didn't realize how serious the triple axel was.
Yeah, when we sat down and started prepping this, and Sarah Carhart was our skating coach, I said, so we'll get somebody to do the triple axels. And she's like, no. I'm like, what do you mean no? She's like, there's only 6 women that have done it. And I'm like, that was 25 years ago. Come on, there's gotta be people doing it. And I immediately Googled it right in front of her. I was like, wow, I guess we're not gonna do that. So, you know, her physicality was amazing, and what she could actually do.
Do you think she would have been treated differently today? You know, if her athleticism would have been appreciated, or?
I think her whole personality would have been appreciated. I think she was outside of the lines, and that's what she got penalized for.
Mm-hmm. Do we have time for audience questions, or we might?
Take
One? Okay. One fantastic question. It better be good. All right, right there.
With a really straight arm.
Yes.
Yeah, I wish I had questions for each one of you, but it's not allowed. Miss Robbie, the elevation of your career is a triple axel. You have big movies after big movies, and Tonya is ticking all the boxes for Oscars. I just want to ask you, how are you, and how do you feel? What do you call this? This career of yours is just growing up and going to be a hot commodity next year after your Oscars. So, did you expect all this? Or
Well, it's interesting because when you met with Tonya, didn't she ask you how you were handling fame?
She did. She was very kind. She asked, how are you handling the skating? I said, it's really hard. She offered to train me, which was really sweet. She said, how are you handling fame at a young age? It's obviously something that was traumatic for her when she was kind of thrust into the limelight in a very negative way at a young age. I think that was difficult. But yeah, no, things are crazy right now. I've done like 4 films this year, which is more than I've ever done, and I feel like I work pretty often. I'm so lucky that I get to work all the time, and I don't know, a lot of people are like, you should slow down, you're going to burn out. And I'm like, it seems too good to be true to have all these amazing opportunities. I couldn't possibly say no to anything, so I just try to do everything and see where it takes us. But something like this, where it's like, you know, it's an indie film, you never expect, you're kind of wishing people are even going to want to see it, but to be, have so much hype and positivity around it when it comes out, and have, like this, seeing a packed cinema, it's like, you have no idea what that means to us. It means the world, it really does.
I'm going to ask everyone to stay seated for a minute because I have to get to another event, but I want to thank you guys for being such a great audience. Again, congratulations on a fantastic movie. Thank you so much for being here.